Good evening and welcome to a very special program on a day in which the Supreme Court has made sure of one thing. The way we travel in the national capital, the way pollution has been affecting the lives of lakhs of people in the national capital region, all of that is going to change. The steps announced today may be temporary in nature, but who knows, maybe this will be the way to go. Because at the end of the day, what is it that we want? Do we want the ease of commuting and more powerful vehicles, or do we want clean air to breathe? I'm joined now by NDTV's auto editor Siddharth Vinayak Patankar. We'll be looking at a lot of the decisions taken by the Supreme Court. We'll also be joined by experts, doctors, lawyers, representatives of the auto industry to give you an idea of just what all of this means. But Siddharth, let's first run through a couple of the main points announced by the Supreme Court. Let's first talk about trucks, because these are the most polluting.
Yes.
What is it that the Supreme Court has said today?
Well, the biggest change I would say is the fact that there's finally a view being taken as to what kind of vehicles enter the city limits of Delhi. Should they be here in the first place? And if they are, then how polluting are they? And I think that's where this truck order comes from. Essentially, you will find now that the most heavily polluted parts of the city are where you see huge sort of junctions of these truckers coming in at night, which is why areas like Anand Vihar have seen such high levels of pollution, especially at night. With the new order now saying that it will restrict the flow of this kind of truck traffic within the city.
And those trucks which don't get into Delhi and are using Delhi as a thoroughfare will have to go elsewhere.
We'll have to skirt the city, and also the ones getting into Delhi can't be over 10 years old. So
okay. That's the other very important point. The second point, cars above 2 litres, 2000 cc in displacement diesel cars will not be sold till the 31st of March. What does this mean? Will this take a significant number of cars off Delhi's roads?
Actually, no, because if you look at the number of diesel cars sold across the country, it's about 45% of all cars sold. In Delhi, that number is a little bit higher. It's actually about 50 to 55% depending on the month. But most of those cars actually sit below the 2 litre mark, Vishnu, and we're talking about 1.3, 1.5 litre cars mainly. And so, which is why you'll find that it's only about 40 or 45 cars per day that get registered with a higher than 2000 cc displacement, which isn't as high a number as the 800 cars that get registered in Delhi.
Well, there's another way of looking at it as well, and I'll just like to come in with my panel at this stage. Barun Agarwal, the Director of Care for Air, is with us over here, and also Dr. Vivek Nangia, Director of Pulmonology at Fortis Hospital, Vasant Kunj. Thank you both very much for being with us. We're also joined by Tom von Bonsdorf, the MD of Volvo Cars India, and Santosh Pal, Supreme Court advocate and lawyer for the petitioner Arvind Gupta, who's looked very closely at the issue of diesel emissions. Barun, the point which I wanted to make, Siddharth says that it's a small number of cars which will get off the roads, more than 2 litres, but if you add up these numbers till the 31st of March, it could be as many as 4,000 new big engine, 2 litre engine diesel cars off the road. Now that is minute if you compare it to the 23,000 diesel engine cars with lesser displacement engines which will be on the roads most likely if people keep buying diesel cars. But we can't wish away 4,000 cars. I mean, it's a sizable number in that sense.
Absolutely it is. For me, I had the privilege and honor to be in the court and see the proceedings of the court and really appreciate how it works. And to me, this is more of a symbolic gesture. Let the rich who have the means also understand what it means to pollute the city. The ones who have the money, who are buying these big SUVs that are typically gas guzzlers, you have much poorer fuel mileage coming out from these bigger cars, and hence
but
they
higher
are more
emission
polluting.
Standards. They're all Euro 4 cars at the very least.
May be Euro 4, but the fuel that we have is still Euro 3 or Euro 4. The cars might even be Euro 5, Euro 6 compliant, but at Euro 3 fuel or Euro 4 fuel in parts of NCR and Delhi, our fuel quality is still not there.
Okay, let me just go across to Tom von Bonsdorf, the MD of Volvo Cars. Sir, do you believe this is just a notional move which has been made by the Supreme Court, or do you see this as a real sign for all auto manufacturers, not just for Volvo, that look, diesel has no real future in terms of cars and SUVs on Delhi's roads, and perhaps in the future not even on India's roads?
Yes, good evening. Hi. Well, I really see basically it's a good thing that we do something about the pollution levels in Delhi, because I think we all suffer from them, and so as a basis, I really see it as a positive. We do something. I would maybe like us to see a more comprehensive attack on pollution, and not a solution like we have seen today. But of course, we welcome this, and Volvo as a whole is fairly well equipped to cope with this issue. We have sub 2 liter engines in all of our range, so we don't really see it as a big issue. But I think very much more needs to be done, and of course our engines are Euro 5 compliant as of now, and that's maybe also one thing that we see that we definitely support a fast transfer into Euro 5.
Siddharth, the car manufacturers which will be affected at the onset, I mean, just from a basic reading, perhaps most, Tata, Mahindra and Toyota. So it's the Innova minivan, Chevrolet also with the Taveras. I believe they sell a fair number of those. Tatas will be affected, Mahindra will be affected. The Bolero is the largest selling SUV in the country. Anand Mahindra had a very positive statement on a day in which he would otherwise be fairly depressed. What did he say?
Well, I mean, he has to be, I suppose, in some senses, because don't forget that this is also short term. Even the industry is waiting to see, does it have a far-reaching consequence beyond the 31st of March? Mr. Mahindra basically saying that, look, we respect the court's decision, we're going to comply with it, and in the long term, we'll probably have to look at solutions which fall within this purview, which means look at smaller engines, because today it's more than 75% of Mahindra's portfolio has engines which are over 2000 cc.
Right. I just want to change our focus slightly to an issue which I think we'd end up forgetting about as we speak about engines. But doctor, let me ask you this. A lot of pollution in Delhi comes from dust off the roads. Today the Supreme Court said that this Delhi government planned to have vacuum devices on Delhi's roads, which they wanted to introduce maybe in March, April, after they did tendering and all that. That's all very well. It has to happen immediately. What is that message, and how do you as a doctor find that even non-car dust or non-vehicle dust is something that affects your patients?
You know, that's absolutely correct actually. It's not just the cars which are polluting, but also the dust which is lying on the roads, on the sides of the roads. One thing I've never been able to understand, like in the West, why can't the roads be metalled right till the end, you know, from one end to the other end? Why do we always leave a patch, a small streak on the sides? That really fails logic completely.
They're going to change that, at least that's what they're promising.
Because dust always is a macro particle. You know, it's not the micro particle. The micro particle comes from all these fumes. So dust also results in a lot of allergies, a lot of irritation in the eyes, running of the nose, throat. There's always a foreign body sensation that is there because of the dust in the air.
Tell me, are doctors exaggerating when they say that the lungs of children are not going to be fully developed with this level of pollution in Delhi compared to elsewhere?
So there is absolutely no exaggeration in this. There are standard scientific studies which have shown beyond doubt that if there is air pollution levels are very high, then the development of the lungs in the pediatric age group really gets affected. So when I say development, it also means that they are not able to fight infections very easily. It also suppresses their immunity levels. The pulmonary functions are affected. There's a very good study which has shown that 40% of the school kids, especially from Delhi, across the 4 metropolis and Delhi predominantly, were not able to perform the usual pulmonary functions very well. So they're like 40% of the children are already affected because of the pollution outside.
Let me just ask any of you, do any of you have a comment? And let me ask you a question and see if you have an answer. Are you all willing to accept what the Supreme Court has said happily, or do you feel, oh look, you know, the court has said something, so we have to accept it? Do you think there's going to be chaos on the roads of Delhi from the 1st of January? Yeah? Who thinks that? And so what do you think, that these decisions are taking place too fast? Do you think there should have been greater thought process? Do you think the people should have waited? Anybody? Yes, go ahead.
Sir, I don't think there will be chaos on roads of Delhi, because right now people are much more understanding than before. Even primary school children have that much knowledge that the pollution is increasing, and they understand that diesel emissions are very high. So they would agree very much to this topic, and I don't think adults would have any other problem as well. The only problem would be the companies, which will be at a high loss.
Okay, anybody else? Any other opinions? Yes, go ahead.
Sir, I don't think that it will work very well because the Delhi government has just adopted the foreign formula. Just copy that they are just going to adopting their odd and even formula because it is there because they have very good private communication and private vehicle there. But if we are talking about in India, public transport is not that well. So if they are going to do that, then there will be so much chaos there.
Okay, so let's see if the chaos happens. It may well indeed happen, but I think the point that a lot of people are making right now is that it's life and death. If there is chaos, there will be chaos. We have to change our thinking. So that you have a question for Mr. Santosh Pal. He joins us now, the Supreme Court advocate.
Let's bring in Mr. Pal, and thank you for joining us right here on NDTV 24/7. The question is quite simply this, that today what we've seen happen with the court order, does it really completely sort of fulfill the kind of petition you were seeking in the first place to be addressed? I mean, is diesel engines of a certain kind is one thing, there's also dust, that's another component, but overall Delhi has definitely other issues when it comes to pollution.
See, let me put it this way. See, across Western Europe, across America, across Japan, it is Euro 6 in place. They are going beyond Euro 6 into what is called platinum filters for diesel emissions. Today we have somehow what I called the dieselization of the passenger car fleet, which took place from 2002 to today, by virtue of which we become the most polluted city in the world, and 13 of our cities become the 20 most polluted cities in the world. There is no option left but to knock off diesel off the roads, or they have to be Euro 6 compliant. That is what we are aiming at, and the court obviously will have to take into a lot of situations before they come to this conclusion. We are persuading the court that we have to get on to Euro 6 if we want to save our cities and our children and our populations.
Right, I'm going to go across and take that point to Tom. Tom, you're still with us, and I basically want to ask you the question that I know the auto industry gets asked very often about preparedness. You know, I mean, this talk about Euro 6 is one thing that we've been hearing for some time. How quickly, realistically, can the industry really adopt these new norms, assuming, of course, that the fuel quality is in place as well?
Well, I think it's fairly quick, to be honest. I mean, you can see in Europe, just like the comment was that when the legislation is tight enough, the industry has to move and has to cope with the changes. So I really think that it can happen very fast. And rightly said, I mean, if we have diesel vehicles on the roads with diesel particle filters, we can take away 99% of those harmful particles, and the problem can be solved with a diesel vehicle. So I really welcome a fast change, and we definitely should prepone the deadlines for India and for Delhi in specific.
Right. It's also a cost issue. I know that's very often quoted, Vishnu, but it's also got a lot to do with infrastructure.
That's right. We're going to take a short break at this stage. We're going to come back with this discussion, continue to look at the impact that today's Supreme Court judgment is making on the lives of lakhs of people in the National Capital Region. Stay tuned.